What's going on, guys? Welcome to week 3 of our Alive in 5 videos. These are our videos that aim to curate the internet's holistic human optimization content and bring you the best of the worlds of physical and mental health, as well as general life philosophy. So in this video today, we've got some really cool tips and resources about learning, sense making. We bring you some tools that you can use to enhance your focus, and we also have a cool video to share about movement culture. So let's get into it. This first resource here is a podcast from Brett Weinstein's podcast, The Dark Horse. I loved a excerpt from this podcast around the hour and 50-minute mark where Dan Schmachtenberger outlines an awesome process for how we can build up a really robust process for epistemics. This is essentially how we make sense of the world. Dan Schmachtenberger is someone who believes that a lot of the societal problems we have at the moment with, the big scale things like climate change, inequality, and all those sort of things come down to a lack of our ability to coordinate socially and really engage in authentic and genuine dialogue with each other and find out what is true through really, really good sense making. So he covers this process of epistemics by introducing the 3 levels of epistemics that we need to build in ourselves to really get to the heart of understanding reality and having good dialogue with each other. So the third level is from a third-person perspective, and that is understanding the theory of epistemics, so understanding formal logic, understanding the philosophy of science, and understanding all the methodologies that go along with that. Then there's second-person epistemics, which is when you're in dialogue with someone else. Can you understand their perspective? Can you steel man their argument, which means to really understand and build up their argument? And can you find the synthesis between your 2 perspectives rather than continuing to hold on to your partial truth and your partial reality and continue to argue for that? And then there's first-person epistemics, which is can we actually recognize our own personal biases and address how our perspective and our lens that we put on the world is distorted and is actually getting in the way of us seeing the whole and full truth. So just a really awesome way to layer out the levels and start thinking about how we can actually get better at sense making and figuring out what's true, especially when in dialogue with others. This next resource is an app called Brain FM. So they're a company that uses a whole bunch of really interesting new science to try and bring you music that can really, really help you focus and dial your attention in or really relax as well. So it does this in 2 main ways. The first one is trying to impact something called your neural oscillation, which is the connection and sort of rhythm of the brain waves you're having between neurons. They can do this by modulating sound. And when they do modulate sound in a particular way, they can actually enhance what's called neural phase locking, which is the ability of your neurons to connect and communicate with each other. So that enhanced coordination between neurons enhances your focus. So that neuromodulation is happening, and then there's also another side of it, which is where they're actually just removing all the bits of music that usually distract you. Music's usually put there to try and engage our attention. But obviously when you're focused, you want to reduce that as much as possible. So through a process they call salience reduction, they remove all those parts of music that will actually draw your attention away from what you're doing. Really, really interesting science behind it that you can check out on their website if you want. But just anecdotally, my experience so far has been really good. And I think it's definitely worth a try. So just download their free app if you want to give it a go. The next resource is a documentary movie on Ido Portal. This is all about movement culture. Ido Portal is widely known as the father of movement culture. And this is something that's becoming incredibly popular in the fitness industry, which is great to see because it's a little bit more of a holistic approach to fitness and with a focus on mobility and kind of really robust strength rather than just doing something for aesthetics. But if you're interested in movement culture, I highly suggest you check this out. It gives the origin story of Ido Portal and the origins of a lot of where this movement culture actually came from. And Ido Portal himself is just incredibly interesting. He's one of the most famous people in movement culture. He's really well known for working with Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, and really priming some of his techniques. And just a really interesting origin story for those who are new to the movement or just really interested in the subject. This last tip here is just all about the concept of active learning strategies. So last week we touched on the concept of the levels of knowing, so moving from propositional knowing to participatory knowing. And this concept here just kind of brings that sort of theory to life. So what you see on the right hand side of the screen here is something called the learning pyramid by Edgar Dale. It essentially just walks through the fact that, you know, whatever we read and whatever we listen to, or when we're experiencing learning, we'll be able to both increase the speed of our learning and the amount of information we're able to retain if we can get closer and closer to an embodied and experiential state of learning. So as the pyramid says, after you know, a certain period of time, I think the study that they did was like 2 weeks, we're only going to remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we can hear and see, versus, you know, if you're down the bottom end of the period towards the active learning strategies where you're talking to other people, you're going to remember at least half of it. Practicing it, actually doing it, that's 75, and then teaching it to other people, 90%, and that's a whole lot better and a massive improvement. So teaching it to others, that's something called, that has been popularized as the Feynman method, based on the work of Richard Feynman, a really famous physicist. So I think that's kind of the crucial learning from this concept. When you do take in information and you're consuming content, trying to get in the habit of really thinking about how we can engage with that content in a bit of a deeper way, and thinking when you've learnt something or you've consumed something, can I have a conversation with someone about this to discuss it and learn more? Can I practice it? Can I actually put it into a practical setting and actually do it and engage in the activity? Or can I teach it to someone, which is the ultimate and just an awesome way to spread knowledge as well. So yeah, just an awesome concept there to keep in our mind while we're consuming information. That's it for this week, guys. Please let me know if you found anything particularly interesting in this video, or if there's anything that you'd like to learn more about. And if you have watched, listened to, or read anything that you thought was really cool this week, please send it to me. I'd love to know what you guys are liking at the moment. So yeah, see you guys next week. Cheers.